What's up, boxing and possibly MMA fans? It's Chris back at you once again. This is it for the big one, Manny Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto. And honestly, I do call it the big one because I think it is. I think this is for most fans, at least hardcore fans, the most anticipated boxing fight of the entire year. Mayweather Marquez was a big event, but I don't think most people thought that fight was going to be too competitive, and it turned out not to be. So this is the big fight. This is the one that got everyone talking. Everyone's been looking forward to it. And so might as well give my prediction on it, my thoughts real quick. First up, Manny Pacquiao. Record, 49 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 37 KOs. He stands in at 5'6.5" with a 67-inch reach. Against Miguel Cotto, stands in at 5'6", has a 67-inch reach himself. Record, 34 wins, 1 defeat, 27 KOs. Interesting to note that they're about the same height and have the same reach. I didn't know that. I knew that Miguel wasn't quite that much bigger than Manny, even though he fights at a bigger weight. But I didn't realize that they were so similar in height and reach. So, I don't think, obviously, Miguel's not going to really have any advantages there. Manny's coming off the second round destruction of Ricky Hatton. Before that, he had the win over Oscar De La Hoya, which is pretty much also a destruction, pretty one-sided fight. He's also beaten guys like David Diaz, Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales, and Juan Manuel Marquez. Regardless of, what you thought, who won those fights with Marquez, he did get the decision. So, it's on the records. As for Cotto, he's coming off the split decision win over Joshua Clottey. Before that, he had the comeback win, TKO 5 over Jennings. And before that, he had the loss, the Margarito, the controversial loss, where he was stopped by Margarito. And he's beaten some good names himself, like Mosley, Judah, Malignaggi. So both these guys have some pretty serious resumes going into this fight. But, I'm sure you guys already know that. I'm not breaking any news there or anything. The fight itself, man, it's very intriguing. First off, it is at a catch weight. I believe the weight is 144. Could be wrong, but I believe it's 144. It might be 145, but I believe it's 144. So obviously Miguel Cotto is going to be coming down from welter a few pounds. I do still believe it's for the title, though. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm sure Miguel's willing to take that risk. Obviously, he doesn't believe he's going to lose. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't take the fight in the first place, regardless of how much money he's making. A couple things to talk about. We seen on 24/7, Manny supposedly having problems outside the ring, distractions with the movie, and this advisor of his that's clashing with Freddie Roach and Alex Ariza in Manny Pacquiao's training. But from what I've read, like online a little bit here and there and heard from insiders, it's not really as big of a distraction as HBO is making it out to be. They're just trying to build the storyline, to build intrigue for the fight. That's what 24/7 does. So I'm not really worried about Manny not being focused for this fight. He looks to be in awesome shape as always, and I've never really seen him when he's in the ring not focused. Once that bell rings, Manny's on, so I'm not worried about it one bit. As for Cotto, the storyline on 24/7 with him, the main thing going into this fight is his uncle is no longer training him. So now he's got the guy that was training under, or his assistant trainer, who was training him all these years, a lot younger than Miguel's age. I believe this will be, I don't think this is his first serious fight. He might train him for Clottey, I don't know, but that's kind of the intriguing thing that, is he ready or not yet for to corner Miguel in this caliber of fight, this high profile of a bout? Hard to say. Obviously, we're going to find out, The one thing I worry about in that situation is when Miguel Cotto seems more like to be the boss of the camp at this point, where his uncle had more of an authority over it. Miguel Cotto seems to be a little bit more in charge of how things are going. But from the footage we've seen, though, it doesn't look like it's been an issue. The dude looks in awesome shape, looks great. Said he feels strong. The training partners and the trainer said he's actually getting stronger as he goes down in weight. I don't know if that's the case, but it could be. Being in such peak condition to get down to 144 may actually make him at his best physically. So the biggest question for Miguel Cotto, obviously, still is what effect did the Margarito defeat have on him? Now, we're all going to speculate whether or not Margarito had the hand wraps on. If I really had to answer, I would believe yes, I do think he did. But we don't know for sure. What we do know is Miguel was beaten down in that fight physically and psychologically. At the end, he was just a beaten man. He didn't quit, but he didn't want to continue. It was probably for his best interest, in all honesty, if Margarito's hand wraps were loaded. Is there still effects from that physically, psychologically? We can't tell. The Clottey fight may have given us glimpses. There were times at that fight where he was really tested. He got cut, which is something unfortunately he's been prone to lately a little bit around the eyes. But he willed his way through it. That was a very close fight with Clottey, but I think he showed a little more character than Joshua at the end of the fight. And I think that's what pulled out the victory for him, aside from, outboxing Cotto early on in the fight. I do think there was times in that fight where Miguel could have quit or wilted under the pressure and the strength of Cotto, but he didn't. He fought through, and I think that could have been a big confidence booster, because as fast and powerful as Manny Pacquiao is, he's not as big and strong as Cotto. So not to say you can equate Cotto or Pacquiao in any way or decipher anything from those two fighters, but I'm just saying Miguel Cotto's, faced a real test in the Cotto fight, and he went through it. He battled through it. As for Manny, the guy's been on a tear lately. It's hard to really critique him. I mean, he hasn't shown any vulnerabilities. Maybe he's going to be susceptible to the jab. Cotto's got a good stiff jab. Body work. Cotto's a great body puncher. We've never really seen Manny tested to the body too much by anybody, not in recent fights for sure. Manny darts in and out a lot. Can he get caught countered? Possibly. I don't know if Cotto has the speed to do that. Cotto is a pretty quick fighter, but he's not on this level of speed as Manny Pacquiao is. For Cotto to win this fight, he's obviously got to use his size and the strength to his advantage. He can go to the body primarily. Take some of that speed and that movement out of Manny Pacquiao, where you can kind of get to him, where you can get to him with your punches. Cotto is probably the biggest, strongest puncher that Manny Pacquiao's faced. Oscar De La Hoya possibly may have been, but he didn't have anything to offer in that fight. So I don't think whatever Cotto hits Manny with is nothing like I think Manny will have faced before. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up to it, whether he gets hit in the chin, the head, or to the body, how he can sustain those shots. As for Cotto, he's faced fast fighters before. He's faced Zab Judah, he's faced Malignaggi, he's faced Shane Mosley, and he's beaten those guys. They may not fight similar to Manny, but he has faced really fast fighters before and come out on top in all three of those fights. So I don't think the speed is going to be the biggest issue for him. Maybe the movement or just the erraticness of Manny's style at times. I think for Miguel to win this, I don't know. I think in the middle of the ring, I think Manny will have an advantage because I think he can really move around. I think he's hard to corner. Cotto, as I've said before with fast fighters, you got to cut the ring off. You really got to apply pressure. On the inside, I think Cotto's really got to try to muscle him, whether it's in clinches or really just do inside work, because I think that's going to be his biggest advantage on the inside. On the outside, I think Manny's at an advantage. Manny's just really got to be careful about getting caught with the counter. He hasn't had to deal with any adversity in the last couple of fights, but Miguel Cotto is a very smart fighter and very crafty fighter. He's a guy that can shift game plans throughout. Another thing Manny hasn't had to deal with, except for maybe in the Marquez fights, the fights which actually incidentally gave him the most trouble. So another thing, Miguel, he got cut up in the Cotto fight. Could it happen here? Possibly. Could he end up getting cut and possibly the fight stopped on that? Could. I hope that's not the case, but it's a possibility. The one thing I want to talk about in this fight, though, 24/7. I call it the 24/7 curse. I call it the 24/7 jinx. I've said it in the past with all the fights that have had 24/7, they've all turned out to be one-sided. Whether it was Mayweather-Hatton, Mayweather-De La Hoya, Pacquiao-De La Hoya, Jones-Calzaghe, Marquez-Mayweather, for some reason, all those fights have turned out to be one-sided in the end. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the case here. If it is, if it's a 24/7 jinx/curse again, I'm going to think it's going to favor Manny Pacquiao. I'm just, if I have to bet on who I think is more likely to win this fight, I'm going to go with Manny Pacquiao just because he's looked better later than Miguel Cotto. And if the 24/7 jinx takes place and it's a one-sided fight, I think it'll be in Manny's favor. I could see him winning more dominantly than I could see Miguel Cotto winning. Although I could see Cotto catching Manny and stopping him. You never know. Like I said, he's a big puncher. So I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be a competitive fight, very strategic fight, hopefully. I'm going to go with Manny Pacquiao by decision. I think he can build a lead, and I think he can play it safe and sit on it. Like I said, Cotto really needs to go to the body and try to counter Manny. If he can win the fight. But and Manny hasn't really had to go the distance lately, but he's never really had cardio problems in the past. So I see Manny winning this fight in decision. I think it should be pretty close though, but I think he'll win it probably about 8 rounds to 4 or so. We're going to be doing a radio show an hour after the fight. Leave it in the ring radio. I'll put links over here on the side. On the information part, there will be bloodfightshow.com. Be sure and check that out. istandandfight.com. Check out the radio show. Call into the radio show 1 hour after the fight. The number will be up here listed. That's pretty much it though. Check me out on Twitter. Put the link over here as well. I just kind of talk about the fights and articles I'm doing and whatnot. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the fight. Manny Pacquiao to win by decision in what should be one of the best fights of the year. I'm out of here. Till next time.